A little background, my husband and I have been together for 4 years and married for less than 2 months. We both run our individual businesses and have been very busy in our lives, to the point that we don't even have much time for each other than late evenings and an occasional afternoon on a weekend. My relationship with my mother-in-law, Emil, has always been all right. I try to avoid drama at all costs, so whenever we interact, I usually just listen and support her. We have never had a direct confrontation up until this point, or any conflict. Her son and husband, however, don't have the best relationship with her. My husband, even before getting married, rarely goes home because he's told me, quote unquote, it takes up a lot of mental preparation every time right before I visit her. My father-in-law, Phil, works 8 months out of the year abroad, and when he is home, he doesn't share a bed with my mother-in-law and spends all his time visiting his sister and mom. Since we got married in February, I started a new business, and my husband was working on expanding his other business. We have been on edge and extremely stressed. Just a few days ago, my mother-in-law reached out to my husband, asking him to come home to celebrate his 31st birthday. We live about an hour away, and because of our busy schedule, he asked my mother-in-law if we could meet halfway. She refused and specifically requested that he must come home, and she will decide the time. I'm not sure what got into my husband's head, or if it was due to years of resentment. He lost patience with her and became very irritated and said something along the lines of, okay then, I guess maybe not this time. We can meet another time. They hung up, and then 5 minutes later, my husband receives a lengthy text from my mother-in-law, blaming me for not letting him go home, and how I must really dislike her. This was a huge shock to me because I never had any conflicts with my mother-in-law, and was not involved in the planning of this dinner whatsoever. But it just all fell on me. I felt terrible and immediately called her. She didn't pick up, and ended up leaving a voice note to her apologizing that we cared for her and that I always remind my husband to go home. But he's just been caught in chaos these past months. I then also immediately ordered a tea plus biscuit gift box with expedited delivery to her with a heartfelt letter. I didn't know if showing up uninvited would have been the best thing to do since she was very emotional. My husband clarified to her that I've never done such a thing, and instead always tells him to visit her more. She then goes batshit crazy, calling him a horrible person. I heard nothing back from my end, and next thing you know, she has deleted and blocked me from every social media. I felt absolutely horrible, but also frustrated and angry because I don't know what I did wrong. Edit 1. My husband and father-in-law both took my side and said she was crazy. My father-in-law then called her and scolded her, but I think that may have made things worse, because she now probably thinks I'm turning her family against her. Edit 2. Thank you everyone for the advice to stand up for myself. I wanted to clarify that I didn't apologize for doing something wrong, but more so apologize that she felt that way, because that was not our intentions. Although it may not be better, I come from a culture that elders should always be respected. I totally understand where everyone is coming from and looking at it from a third person. POV, it does look very weird that I'm bending down, especially when I didn't do anything wrong. Edit 3. I think my mother-in-law isn't angry anymore. She spoke to my husband, but acted like absolutely nothing happened. I don't know if it's her way of apologizing, but she said she had a gift for me, and it turned out it was a bag of walnuts, supposedly to improve my health. She never outright apologized, and it's probably because of pride, but I told my husband that I don't plan to see her unless it's at a family gathering. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. This is common with older parents who won't let go. They cannot and will not believe their precious adult child could possibly not want to go be with them every time they demand it, and far too often. So it must be the dastardly spouse's fault? You're controlling him, or harassing him, and he's lying to cover for you, or because he's afraid of you. It's rather telling that she demands that your husband comes home to her. He is at home. His and your home, which is his home. Her home is not his home anymore. Next time, he should tell her that. Mom, I am home. This is my home. Maybe that will make something click in her head, or not. He just needs to tell her no. No reasons or explanations. You guys are very busy. You have your own lives. She may refuse to ever respect that, but that's her problem. Nothing for you to apologize for or send her gifts to coddle her fifis. I understand you wanted everyone to be happy and to keep the peace. But with some people, like your mother-in-law, she won't ever be happy and won't ever give you peace. Good luck. Comment 2. For starters, I absolutely would not have left the voice note apologizing and sent the tea and biscuit gift box. All this does is send the message. I'm apologizing because I think I have something to apologize for. Spoiler alert, you don't. She's blaming you because it's easier for her to blame you than to admit her son is simply grown up and has his own life, home, and priorities now. She really thought he would be her doting baby boy forever, even at 31. What to do? You do nothing. This is a hard reality she's going to have to grapple with. She cannot expect her son to put his life on hold regularly just to appease her. After all, isn't that what most good parents want? Their kids to grow up and have happy, healthy, successful lives of their own. She needs to understand she can't monopolize his time, especially when she's not willing to be flexible and meet halfway or agree on a certain day/time. As harsh as it is, it sounds like she needs a reminder that when it comes to my way or the highway is still always an option. Now, for the update. Thanks for the support and comments on my last update. Well, things took a turn for the worse. After the walnut incident, I thought maybe we were heading towards some sort of peace. But no, my mother-in-law had other plans. She invited us over for a family dinner, and it seemed like a trap from the start. My husband insisted we go, saying it was a chance to mend fences. I should have trusted my gut. We arrived, and everything seemed normal until dinner was served. My mother-in-law had made my husband's favorite dish, but for me, she forgot I was vegetarian and made everything with meat. I sat there with an empty plate while everyone else ate. My husband was furious, but he didn't say a word. He just kept eating, avoiding my eyes. I felt humiliated, but I didn't want to cause a scene. After dinner, my mother-in-law brought out a cake for my husband's belated birthday. She made a show of cutting him a huge slice, then turned to me and said, "Oh, I suppose you can't have this either." The room was silent. I could feel everyone's eyes on me. I just smiled and said I was full. But inside, I was boiling with anger. The next day, my husband's business partner called. He said there had been a huge mistake with one of their contracts, and it looked like my husband had signed off on something without reading it properly. The mistake cost us thousands. I couldn't believe it. My husband is usually so careful, but when I confronted him, he just shrugged it off, saying it was fixable. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. A week later, I found out what it was. My husband had been seeing someone else, someone he met through his business. I stumbled upon messages on his phone while looking for a contact. My world shattered. The late nights, the stress, it all made sense now. He was cheating on me. And the worst part? My mother-in-law knew. She had been covering for him, making excuses whenever I questioned his whereabouts. I was walked all over and I did nothing. I didn't confront him or her. I just went on with my life, pretending everything was fine. But it wasn't. I was dying inside. Then, as if things couldn't get any worse, my own business faced a crisis. One of my trusted employees had been embezzling money. I was blindsided. I had given this person everything, trusted them completely, and they stole from me. It was a huge blow, not just financially, but emotionally. I had to take action. I fired the employee and started legal proceedings. It was a mess. My husband offered to help, but I couldn't look at him the same way. I felt alone, betrayed by the people I trusted the most. In the midst of all this, my father-in-law returned from his work abroad. He noticed the tension immediately. He pulled me aside and asked what was wrong. I broke down and told him everything. To my surprise, he was furious, not at me, but at my husband and mother-in-law. He confronted them both, demanding answers. My husband confessed to the affair. He said he was sorry, that it was a mistake. My mother-in-law just sat there silent. My father-in-law didn't accept their apologies. He told my husband he needed to make it right, to fix what he had broken. And to my mother-in-law, he said she had no right to meddle in our marriage. The aftermath was chaotic. My husband begged for forgiveness, but I couldn't give it to him. Not yet. I needed time to heal, to figure out if our marriage was worth saving. My father-in-law stayed with us, supporting me through the legal troubles with my business and the personal turmoil. As for my mother-in-law, she tried to reach out, to explain her actions, but I wasn't ready to hear it. I needed space from her manipulations and games. I focused on my business, on rebuilding what had been taken from me. It's been a tough week, to say the least, but I'm standing my ground. I won't be walked over anymore. I'm taking control of my life, my business, and my marriage. It's going to be a long road, but I'm ready for it. Thanks for reading. My boyfriend criticizes my easygoing nature. But when his cousin wrecks our place and his car, I show them both what happens when I stop playing nice and take charge by suing for every penny of the damage. My 21-year-old boyfriend and I, also 21, have been dating for over a year. We never fight, but sometimes I struggle to get him to express his feelings. Overall, we get along well, and I love him very much. Whenever we spend time together, my boyfriend always asks what I want to do, whether it's something fun or just getting food. I always respond with, I don't know, I'm okay with whatever, because I genuinely don't mind what we do. I've always considered myself a chill person. If there was something I really wanted to do, I'd let him know. Last night, we were hanging out in his apartment. As we went into the living room and turned on the TV, he asked what we should do. I said, I don't know, maybe play Hogwarts Legacy. But we can watch something if you want. He seemed annoyed with me and asked, well, do you want to play Hogwarts Legacy? I replied, sounds good to me. He then asked, what do you actually want to do? And I told him, I'm really okay with whatever. He told me that I'm very indecisive most of the time, and he was correct about that. I responded by saying that he always asks me what I want to do, but he never knows what he wants to do either. He then said, when I ask you what you want, it's not because I don't know what I want, it's because I want you to decide. He said something along the lines of, I have opinions, which seems to be something you never have. I can't exactly describe why, but this really hurt my feelings, and I didn't say much to him after that. I guess it made me feel like he thought of me as someone who has no thoughts of my own. Since we never fight, I wonder if he truly feels that way about me. Eventually, I let it go, and we moved on. But I'm not sure what to do to help this situation because I'm worried it will create more tension. Does it seem like I overreacted to what he said? Edit. After reading these responses, I've realized that I've created tension in my relationship by not making decisions. I have always had relationships, including family, with controlling people, and let them decide what to do so they wouldn't get upset and to keep the peace. I also have anxiety, so maybe sometimes I'm just afraid of doing or saying the wrong thing. My boyfriend isn't like that at all, and I'm going to let him know that although what he said hurt my feelings, I'm sorry for putting all of the decision-making on him, and I'm going to try to work on it. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You need to think about the mental load of always having to make decisions for yourself. You may think of yourself as chill, but others will see you as, at best, a dead weight. And every time you trot out the I really don't mind line, you stab them in the spot that your indecisiveness has just made sore. I don't know how you change yourself. Possibly write a list of things you don't mind, doing, eating, and cycle around them. Or start asserting your preferences. Start trying to decide which choice you do like by any weird criteria you can think of. More seriously, you sound like you are either the result of an overbearing upbringing or have anxiety about letting your real self shine. Work on these. Comment 2. And I always hit him with the, I don't know, I'm okay with whatever, because I really don't mind what we do. You think it is a good thing, but you are actually causing him stress. He's now forced to make every decision because you won't help. You're forcing him to make all the decisions in the relationship, and that is not only draining, but makes it feel like you don't have a partner. I had a relationship end for this very reason. I have never felt more unsupported than having a girlfriend who left it to me to make every single decision. Since we never fight, It's honestly probably not a good thing. And this is exactly why. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around. A lot has happened since I last posted, so the other day, my boyfriend's cousin, who's been crashing on his couch for a while, decided to throw a surprise party for his girlfriend at the apartment. I wasn't thrilled about it, but I didn't say much. The cousin, let's call him Couch Guy, has this way of making everything about him, and I've been biting my tongue for weeks. The party was a mess. Couch Guy invited way too many people, and someone spilled red wine all over my boyfriend's rug. My boyfriend was upset, but Couch Guy just laughed it off, saying it was just a thing and things could be replaced. I could see my boyfriend trying to keep his cool, but I knew he was mad. Then, Couch Guy's girlfriend, who's always been a bit of a drama queen, started a fight with him in front of everyone. She accused him of cheating and he didn't even deny it, just shrugged and said everyone should chill out. It was like he enjoyed the attention. My boyfriend tried to calm things down, but they ended up breaking up right there in the middle of the living room. The next day, my boyfriend was quiet. He didn't want to talk about the party or the rug. I knew he was thinking about how much his cousin had taken advantage of his kindness. I felt bad for him, but I also felt a little relieved that maybe Couch Guy would finally move out. But no, Couch Guy acted like nothing happened. He even had the nerve to ask my boyfriend to borrow his car because he needed to clear his head. I couldn't believe it. My boyfriend, being the good guy he is, just handed over the keys. I was fuming inside but didn't say anything. Then, as if things couldn't get worse, Couch Guy got into an accident with my boyfriend's car. It wasn't anything serious, but the car was definitely going to need some work. When my boyfriend found out, he just sighed and said it was fine, that things happen. But I could tell it wasn't fine. He was trying to convince himself as much as he was trying to reassure Couch Guy. I wanted to scream at Couch Guy, tell him he was a leech and needed to take responsibility for once. But I didn't. I just helped my boyfriend clean up the mess, literally and figuratively. And here's the kicker. Couch Guy didn't even apologize. Instead, he started talking about how this accident made him realize life is short, and he's planning to travel the world. He asked my boyfriend if he could store some of his stuff at the apartment while he's gone. And my boyfriend, he just nodded and said, we'd figure it out. I don't know why I didn't object. Maybe I was just tired of all the drama, or maybe I was scared of creating more tension. But deep down, I knew this was wrong. We were enabling Couch Guy's behavior, and it wasn't fair to my boyfriend. He works hard for what he has, and here was his cousin, just taking advantage of him. I should have stood up for my boyfriend, but I didn't. I let Couch Guy walk all over us, and now we're stuck with his mess and his stuff. I keep telling myself it's just for a little while, that once Couch Guy leaves to find himself, things will go back to normal. But I can't shake the feeling that I've accepted a terrible situation, and I don't even realize it. Thanks for reading. My husband gambles away, our home, and blames me. So I leave him to rot in jail and start my new life on my terms. I'm a 35-year-old female, and my husband is 37 years old. I have been on a journey in therapy, but I haven't felt ready to tell my mom how I feel. There are things from my childhood that seem innocent enough to me that I don't think they warrant telling and possibly hurting my mother. I was raised in an affluent situation, and my mom, while not working, had the luxury of hiring a series of live-in nannies who I loved as a child, in the way that I think a child would love their mother. I spent my entire days with these women, learned their language and about their cultures, and felt their inherent warmth. They would stay a few years and then go back to their own families or find new jobs, leaving me utterly heartbroken. I obviously don't fault them, as they were employees and not family. But I couldn't help feeling bereft and abandoned. My actual mother was somewhat of a disciplinarian to whom I felt obligated to perform well, and to meet her expectations of a child who would reflect well on her parenting to their snobby, even more affluent friends. That was relatively normal in their circles and doesn't seem wrong to her. I would truly hate to make her feel like she did not make me feel as loved as I'm sure she felt. I think she wanted kids because that was what was done, and she was also raised by a cold and demanding mother. I wanted her to be proud of me, like any child does. so I became a people pleaser who would say anything to get her approval. I, being the second child, learned early what it meant to be the good kid. I was always obedient while I consciously ignored the person who I might have become. To this day, I disregard my own feelings to be the person that whoever I meet might find most agreeable. I have no idea who I am, and my therapist and I are working on that. That being said, my husband recently told my mother, out of spite, during an argument of ours, that I had told him that I said I was raised by nannies. After a few months, she told me what he said and how it hurt her. When she brought it up to me, I deflected and told her it was taken out of context. As I said before, I don't feel ready now, or possibly ever, to broach that subject with her. Am I wrong to feel betrayed by this breach of confidence? I have not told him that I know what he said, as I don't want to rock the boat despite our marriage not being perfect by any stretch. I avoid conflict like the plague. I guess I'm just looking for advice. I feel such a weight on my shoulders, and so disappointed and betrayed, but at the same time, I'm afraid of the inevitable conflict the discussion will bring. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You do not talk in conflict or in avoidance of conflict. Your husband blurts out private stuff. Both are unhealthy. I have not told him that I know what he said, as I don't want to rock the boat, despite our marriage not being perfect by any stretch. I think that you need to learn to express valid criticism. It is bothering you, really. If a simple, "Mom told me how you told her about me being raised by nannies," it makes me feel bad. I do not want to have that discussion with her, and when I tell you things, please keep them private. It is feedback. Then he will know you know. He will know it bothers you. Am I wrong to feel betrayed by this breach of confidence? Sure, it is a valid feeling. In addition, you are not wrong for having feelings. You do not control them. Feelings just are. This idea of feelings one is allowed to have, and others not allowed to have, is harmful. The issue is when you lash out on those feelings, like when the husband revealed something private in anger. Comment 2. I think the future of a marriage you chose before you knew who you were, or that you deserved basic respect and warmth from a partner, looks very bleak. Your husband maliciously violated your trust, and you are too afraid to reveal that you know about it. What kind of relationship can you really have with the person you fear on that level? Is there anything left to say other than goodbye? Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around. A lot has happened since my last post. So, my husband, let's call him Mr. Spiteful, decided to throw another curveball my way. He went behind my back and took out a massive loan against our house. I found out when I got a call from the bank about a missed payment. I was floored. I mean, we had our issues, but to risk our home without even a word to me? That's a new low, even for him. Turns out he's been gambling. The debts piled up, and he used the house to cover his losses. I was livid. I confronted him, and he had the nerve to blame me, saying my coldness and distance drove him to it, as if his actions were somehow my fault. I couldn't believe it. The man I married, the one I thought I knew, was now a stranger to me. I had to act fast. I called the bank, explained the situation, and begged for a payment plan. They agreed, thankfully, but the trust between us was shattered. I couldn't look at him without seeing betrayal. Then, my mom called. She was crying. My heart sank. She'd been diagnosed with a serious illness. It was like the universe was piling on. I rushed to her side, forgetting my own turmoil for a moment. She needed me, and despite everything, she was still my mom. In her vulnerability, she opened up about her regrets, how she wished she'd been more present, more affectionate. It was a side of her I'd never seen. I was torn. Here was the woman who'd outsourced my upbringing, now seeking my comfort. I wanted to be angry, but seeing her so frail, I just couldn't. I stayed with her for days, caring for her, and in those quiet moments, I found a strange sense of peace. It was like caring for her was healing old wounds I didn't even know I had. Back home, Mr. Spiteful had packed his bags. He was leaving, said he needed to find himself and deal with his demons. I watched him go, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. The house was quiet, too quiet. but it was a chance for a fresh start for both of us. I started to pick up the pieces. I got a job, a real one, not just something to please my mom or keep up appearances. It was hard juggling work and caring for her, but it felt right. I was finally taking control of my life. One evening, I got a call from a lawyer. Mr. Spiteful had been in an accident. He was okay, but he'd been caught driving under the influence. His gambling debts had caught up to him, and now this. The lawyer said he was facing jail time. I felt a pang of something. Not quite sadness, not quite satisfaction. It was complicated. I visited him once in the holding cell. He looked small, defeated. He apologized for everything. I accepted his apology, not for his sake, but for mine. I needed to let go of the anger, to move on. As for my mom, she's getting better. The illness is in remission. She's really trying to make up for lost time. We really talk, and it's like we're building a new relationship from scratch. So that's where I am now. Picking up the pieces, building a new life, and learning to stand on my own 2 feet. It's not easy, but it's real. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm not just playing a part. I'm living my life for me. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.